The battle phase doesn't matter in Yu-Gi-Oh anymore, but we can change that. Hey guys, you're watching Team APS, I'm Paul, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about the Yu-Gi-Oh battle phase, why it kind of isn't really that important anymore, but how I do think Konami can hopefully do some things to maybe change that. So before we hop in, a quick shout out to the channel members. It's really appreciated. It's basically a new YouTube feature where for a small monthly amount, you invest in our ability to make better Yu-Gi-Oh content. We're trying to get better skits going, more ambitious ones with higher production values. We also try to go to different Yu-Gi-Oh events, and the money that comes from channel memberships really helps with that. You guys are the MVPs and you're much appreciated. Also, I am giving away a Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2019 playmat. So I got this from going to Worlds last weekend, as you guys know. If you want a chance to win it, all you have to do is leave a comment on every video this week. I'm uploading a video Monday through Friday. If you leave a comment on every single one, at the end of the week, I'm going to check who left a comment on all the videos and pick a random winner. So yeah, very easy to win this. It's not even open, it's literally still in the plastic, and this thing's worth a lot. So the comment does have to actually be relevant to the video. You can't just say, enter me in the contest, talk about the video. It's important. Okay, so the battle phase in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of just not a thing anymore. How did this happen though? So Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters have attack points, they have defense points. One of the core tenets of the game is, attacking your opponent's monsters to get rid of them. And, the battle phase has a myriad of rules, nuances, and things surrounding it. There are archetypes that are based on, the battle phase. There are lots of card effects that change monsters' attack and defense, that can negate attacks in the battle phase. But that stuff doesn't really matter anymore, and I think that the reason is because Yu-Gi-Oh's become so monster effect centric, and really games are oftentimes decided more so by the amount of negations you can put on the board, or just stopping your opponent from playing in general. If you make a field with Thunder Dragon Colossus and Hope Harbinger and Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss and just all these things that can negate or disrupt your opponent or just prevent them from doing something, then really it doesn't matter if you get to a battle phase or not, because your opponent won't really be able to do that, and then you'll just kill them anyway. Also, battle traps like Mirror Force, Dimensional Prison, those types of things just aren't really good anymore for a lot of the same reasons traps aren't really good. They're very susceptible to removal, they're very slow, and a lot of times the monsters these days can just straight up negate them or can't be targeted or can't be destroyed. So that's another thing that we're going to try to address in this video. So the first idea that I have is rewarding monsters for attacking. This is something that we have seen in the past. Cards like Blackwing Shura, the Blue Flame, cards like Flamebell Fire Dog, or even the entire Gladiator Beast archetype, which is actually getting support soon, by the way. Pretty cool. These monsters all kind of center around the battle phase and are rewarded for attacking with a search or a special summon. And I think that's a really good way to make the battle phase feel important. What maybe Konami should look at doing though, moving forward, is instead of having monsters that just get beneficial effects when they're summoned, all these Stratos type monsters, or these monsters just send something to the grave when they get summoned, like say Salamangreat Gazelle, maybe hide that behind attacking something in battle. So instead of just, when Gazelle's summoned, you send a Salamangreat card to the grave and continue on about your day with these combos, maybe Gazelle can only do that when it destroys an opponent's monster in battle. That would be a really cool balancing mechanism because A, it slows things down a bit, which people want. It means that, you can't just go first and in your main phase you do all this crazy stuff, make a crazy board, and in your turn your opponent has to struggle. It would mean that you need to still attack. And because Gazelle isn't a very strong monster, and I don't think the monsters should be all that strong, you have to maybe run something that can help Gazelle swing over stuff in battle, something to increase its attack points. Maybe that means running, Forbidden Lance, Enemy Controller, Book of Moon, that type of thing that can, increase its attack or put opponent's monsters in a more vulnerable position so that you can kill them and then get the effect that you want. This means you wouldn't be able to necessarily do it on the first turn, so it helps with that problem, and it just means that the combos aren't just so autopilot feeling. I know that's a big complaint people have, and I think that would be really cool. There are other things that you could reward people for too, things like searches. A lot of archetypes nowadays will have a monster that when it's normal summon, you just search. And that's it, there's nothing more to it. A lot of Stratos type monsters. I think it would be really cool to see those same monsters have that search be hidden behind, attacking, getting through the battle phase and surviving. That would be a really good thing, and so it's something I hope Konami can maybe explore with some archetypes going forward. The next thing is that I think we should weaken monsters that have these protections and negations and stuff. So I think it's a little bit extreme that monsters that can negate effects also happen to be so big, right? Imagine if something like Thunder Dragon Colossus had less attack points, or Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, Hope Harbinger, Crystal Wing, Hot Eyes Vortex Dragon. All these monsters that, can negate effects just almost for free, really. They shouldn't also be, 2,500 or 3,000 or even more attack points. Maybe if your opponent could swing over the monsters, then that would be like a slight mitigation to things. So, that I feel is just, it's hard to find a perfect balance with it. Because yes, boss monsters by their very nature should have high attack points, high defense points, just good overall stats, while still having some type of a powerful negation or powerful protection. That's kind of what makes them what they are. So I get that this wouldn't be something that's like easy to do, but I think that when you have to stare down a board full of negations, it would be nice if the monsters were at least tiny. I think on a small scale, an archetype that does a pretty good job of this is actually Spectres, on the protection front at least. So Spectre monsters can't actually be targeted or destroyed by card effects, which at the time was kind of a big deal, but obviously we see that they aren't played a whole lot today. I think that, it seemed strong, but then the Spectre monsters themselves aren't very strong. So yes, you can't use Dark Hole and get rid of them, or yes, you can't, just use your effect veiler on them or target them with this or that, but you can run over them. I think that's a good balance. I think that you shouldn't be able to just have your cake and eat it too. Big monsters that are also impossible to swing over just makes your opponent feel pretty helpless most of the time. Now, I don't know, some people will probably disagree with this, so this is one where I'm especially curious on what you guys think about it, but yeah, let me know, how do you feel about the whole, monsters being big and having, loaded effects? The next thing is making stronger battle traps. So traditionally in Yu-Gi-Oh! Battle traps were a pretty strong force. Mirror Force is obviously a very powerful one. Dimensional Prison, another very strong battle phase related trap card. And even stuff like Venus Chain, or more recently the Phantom Knight's Fogblade, very good battle trap cards. And also, of course, people use Forbidden Lance, Enemy Controller, right? Book of Moon. Things that dealt with monsters' attack, just making them more vulnerable, whatever. The reason that stuff isn't useful now is, like I said, it gets popped, usually before the battle phase even happens, or the monsters just cannot be destroyed by things. They can't be targeted by things. I think that to make battle traps good again, you really are going to have to kind of amp up the power level. So there's a few ways you could do this. I think a really good one would be adding insurance effects to some of these cards. So basically, think Waking the Dragons, right? That trap card. Maybe have some of these battle phase related traps be like, if they get removed from the field, they still will make your opponent skip their next battle phase. I think that'd be really great. So basically, let's say the card's effect is when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can negate that attack and banish that monster. So it's something like a Deep Prison, right? But if the card gets removed from the field before the battle phase even happens, it still, makes your opponent's battle phase just end. Or you could add graveyard effects. We've seen that with cards like Breakthrough Skill. It's always a really popular one. Something like you can banish it and just, negate an opponent's attack. We've seen that with Necro Valley and stuff. Maybe that wouldn't make a huge deal, but if you combine a strong on-field effect, just normal activation, with also having an insurance when it's destroyed of some kind, you can actually make battle traps have a lot of value and mitigate some of the weaknesses that they've got. And of course, make the effects on field strong and worth it. Like, don't just, okay, it negates the attack. Make it like, it negates the attack and negates the monster's effect, or even negates the attack and your opponent cannot activate effect for the rest of the turn. That stuff sounds extreme, but we see the position that traps are in. Maybe make some of these traps be like your opponent cannot chain monster effects to it. That's something that Konami tried out with Dark Ruler No More, and even though that card's looking kind of controversial right now, I think it would be good. So basically, it's a battle trap that your opponent cannot just straight up negate with like Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, at least not so easily. Make it something where they have to use a Solemn Judgment or a Dark Bride to stop it, which would bring trap cards in general back into the game, and that's something that a lot of people want, I know. So, that way the traps are a little bit more protected from things. You could even start exploring the idea of some of these being hand traps again, the Infinite Impermanence, Evenly Matched, Red Reboot type of cards, where like these are traps that you can activate from hand, maybe for a slightly weakened or nerfed effect, or maybe at a cost, like how Red Reboot is, for instance. But, just so that way you can mitigate the risk of even setting them face down and letting them just get hit by Twin Twisters or Storm Duster or something like that in your end phase. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about this? How do you feel like the traps in particular could maybe be retuned so as to make them more useful? And lastly, there's just a few loose points I wanted to cover. I think, Konami could explore things like monsters that can actually only be destroyed in battle. They don't have to have high stats or even great effects, but just, maybe forces your opponent to actually, deal with them in a battle phase related thing. They're unaffected by monster effects, so they can't be popped. And you can still give them maybe a search effect or like a, dumping effect or some draw effect, but, your opponent is forced to attack it. Maybe, make flip effect monsters a little bit better, where, like Deus Ex Crawler, for instance, if it gets targeted by stuff, it can actually flip face up and negate that. That would be really cool. I'd like to see something like that, where you have to actually run over the flip effect monsters so that they're able to get their effects more easily. There's a lot of things. I know that none of these ideas are perfect, of course. They're just ideas after all. But that's why I want to hear from you guys. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I feel like I've gone on long enough about this. Thumbs if you like it, subs if you loved it. Be sure to check out our sponsors, TCG Player, Inked Gaming. We've got discount codes and affiliate links, all that great stuff down in the description. Shout outs again to the YouTube channel members. Be sure to leave a comment for a chance to win a playmat. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Pass turn.